KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
And good morning and welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm David Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis. The late Patti Fink is going to be very late today. She'll be here next week.
She'll be here next week.
Our guests today are John Cooper-Lara and Jimmy Bartlett. They are putting on Razzle, Dazzle, Dallas, I was going to say next week, 2 weeks from tonight, or 2 weeks from last night. 2 weeks from tonight.
2 weeks
Razzle.
from tonight.
Is Razzle Dazzle downtown, but Razzle Dazzle Festival starts 2 weeks starting on Wednesday night.
Now, for anybody who doesn't know what Razzle Dazzle is, because lots of people out there don't, it's been going on since 1979. Jimmy, what is Razzle Dazzle Dallas?
Razzle Dazzle Dallas is our June Pride celebration. It started out back in 1979 as a celebration, and it has evolved over the years.
Now, the way one person told me the reason they started it was that cities around the country were starting to do Pride celebrations in June. This was before you were born, Lerone. Shut up. And
yeah, today's going to be a history lesson for me.
It will be. But in Dallas, June Pride was really pretty sad. So a group of people got together, and what was the first Razzle?
It was in 79. You're correct. There's a group of people that, the celebration in Dallas was basically going to be a candlelight march from Cedar Springs to Lee Park. And the original group of individuals decided, we need something a little more than that. And so they thought, we need a party, we need a celebration. And that's how it started.
And a candlelight march, that's great when you're commemorating people who've died of AIDS. And, we got used to doing lots of those. This was pre-AIDS.
Yeah, this was way before that.
This was way before that.
So what was the candlelight march for?
That was the original interpretation of being
sad little present. It was just a sad little commemoration. And 79 was really before Pride parades.
Right.
A few cities had started those, but different cities had different things.
But that would have been very progressive, though, back in '79. To think Dallas would have any kind of celebration is kind of amazing. And then to see, we got to put the gayness in it. Let's have a party. Let's don't do a candlelight thing. Come on now.
Right.
And they wanted to do an unofficial Pride celebration, to have a party to celebrate.
Well, what makes a party official? It's not like the city council is going to say, okay, this will be our city pride presentation. City council ran from it at the time. That was long before we ever had an openly gay city council member. Okay, so what was that first pride party? Where was it? Well,
Fortunately, the State of Hall was available at Fair Park, and so they decided that this would be a great place to, as they put it, they wanted to dance, have a blast, be outrageous, and show the local world that we weren't relegated to the Cedar Springs corridor. Mm-hmm. And it was born there, State of Hall.
And the story Chris Martin, who's here in the studio with us, that she said just before the show was that for years afterwards, they were finding glitter all over the Hall of State.
Right. The Hall of State. Yeah. When they went to clean up, they couldn't believe the amount of glitter that was left. It was almost embedded in the floor
for years. So if you're at Hall of State ever and you find some glitter, it dates back decades.
It has a good history.
So when did it become officially Razzle Dazzle?
That was it.
That was
the
the
first
name.
one was called Razzle.
From get-go.
From the
Oh,
get-go.
okay.
Yeah. The Razzle Dazzle has become a whole weekend of events.
Yeah, when this group got together back in 2010 to start talking about reviving Razzle Dazzle and bringing it back to...
Because it was gone for about 5 years.
10 years.
It was gone 10 years?
2002 was the last of the original.
Ooh,
Razzle
okay, it was
Dazzle.
gone.
Yeah, because I hadn't been on the show long, and I went to the last one when I was around 2001, 2002.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, there was a group that sat around and said, it would be great to bring this event back. It was so important in the community as a way to celebrate our gay pride in the June month, along with the rest of the country. And so a call was put out. Matter of fact, The Voice put a little article in there, and people showed up. We had about 30 people show up that first meeting, and it was nice because it represented people from agencies that serve the community. It was the business people from Cedar Springs. It was bar owners. It was a neat collection of the community as a whole, and everybody seemed to have an interest in wanting to bring this back. I think that's what makes this unique, is that it is a group that it encompasses so much of our community that's come together to make this happen. And that's, I think, what its strengths are as well.
Yeah. Now, this year, it's not going to be on Cedar Springs because it came the party moved around, and it moved on to Cedar Springs sometime mid to late 90s, and it stayed
That's
there.
correct. Yes.
That is correct.
And when you brought it back, easy place to have it, right on Cedar Springs.
Right.
It's kind of like, we own Cedar Springs. We allow other people to drive down that street. But we decided to move. And you're looking at me like it doesn't work that way.
No, it's kind of funny because we talked about in this committee meeting, and we've talked about everything. Should it be 1 day, 3 days, 4 days? Where should it be? Fair Park. We looked at all different venues around the city, and ultimately came back to is, the place that seemed most natural is to bring it back would have been to bring it down on the street. For what you said, is most people know where that is, and it's not we don't have to educate anybody on anything. And also, that's where it was last at. So it's kind of like we're going to resurrect it, bring it back to Cedar Springs. And when you do something like this, something that's been gone for 10 years, we sat around and planned this for months. And at about 3 days beforehand, I said to Jimmy, boy, we've got a great party. I just hope somebody shows up. Because you don't have a history now. You don't know whether people are going to embrace this and bring it back to the community and understand what it means to the community to bring this kind of resources, both financially and then also to have a celebration like this back in our community. So first year was a little bit iffy. We didn't know what was the response going to be. And then it was so overwhelming, we knew that we had a hit.
Other major events are held on the street, the parade, Halloween. So it was a natural fit for us. There was experience to holding events there. So the infrastructure and all that was easy for us to bring it back to the street.
Sure, but it originally was not held on the street.
When we first started our meetings, and we literally went out into the community and were talking with people and asking them, what do you remember about Razzle Dazzle? Do you think it should come back? And one of the inevitable stories that came out of our conversation with the community was, I remember when it was over there. I remember when it was over there. That was a very fond memory of everybody's, that it moved around, that it encompassed the whole city. And so we immediately knew that
it needed to start moving.
Be the same guy.
Now, those of us who remember Razzle Dazzle, late 90s, early 2000s, we missed it when you disappeared for 10 years.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, now, those of us who still have a memory, unlike David, who can barely...
No.
Well,
what happened?
In 2002?
Well, no, why you disappeared for 10 years?
Well, we're not the group that was involved with that in 2002. This is a different group of people.
New.
That was
totally new.
That
group of
original
people.
board disbanded.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
so that we kind of revived it, but we're not the original. We're not the board that was running at that
Gotcha.
time.
But the original board was not the board at the end. It evolved over its span too.
Sure.
different board members, and it came on board, and so it evolved just like any event.
And when you get my age, you're kind of hoping that will happen in our legacy as well. So new people will come involved, and they'll come on board. And David, we know that eventually we've got to hand these reins off to the next generation to take these events on and make them happen.
We do, but we like to keep people like Lerone in his place.
I know.
Absolutely.
Smart.
Smarty. But your question though was why take it downtown? And this is always that question that we get asked is why downtown? And some people have said, why not? Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we, in a year that we have potentially a game-changing verdict by the Supreme Court, to not be celebrating our gay pride in the heart of Dallas? You know, we are a community that is far-reaching. We go from Fort Worth to Frisco to Colleyville to...
Not Frisco.
Okay, not Frisco. I know you don't like that Frisco gay idea, but
Well, at least Plano.
yeah. Well, okay.
Actually, next Saturday is North Texas Pride.
That's
yeah,
right.
they're
Yes.
having a great event up
The
there.
mayor-elect is going to be there.
Absolutely.
We'll all be there.
We're going to be there. We're going to be there celebrating
Wonderful.
with them. So, yeah, you know, and so it's kind of like, where else would we be? Where do we say this strongest and loudest that we are prideful of who we are as a community and all of the things that we've accomplished in my lifetime, which I never anticipated that we'd even have a Supreme Court decision out there in my lifetime. And so to see this happen in downtown Dallas, to me, I'm really proud of that. I'm proud that we've taken it there because I think it's an important statement to say to the Dallas community as a whole. And then when you look at the dynamics of downtown, and over the last 10 years, the growth of downtown is huge. So you've got over 8,000 people living there, and if you live down there, you know that, which I do, that a great deal of people are gay, live downtown, and then the other are gay friendly. So to take it into an environment where not only are we embracing our own celebration, but we are including and encouraging people who are gay supportive to come and celebrate with us. So being downtown kind of gives us that venue to be able to do that. So
I think it's great that you're taking it to downtown.
I was trying to remember when the last time we had a big gay event downtown. Now, World AIDS Day has been downtown in Main Street Garden the last couple of years, but that's not a gay event, that's an AIDS event.
Right.
I can't remember the last time.
I can't either.
The only thing I can think of, and this is a good 10 years ago, the Gala Prom was held in the hotel that overlooks the Hilton. The old Statler Hilton. That was an
inside.
Enclosed
Yeah.
inside event.
I mean, there's a few little protesters outside.
Yeah,
There is black tie
literally
at the
a few.
Sheraton.
Well, okay.
There's black tie at the Sheraton, yeah.
Right,
That's
black
true.
tie at the Sheraton every year.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But you know, going back to John's statement about us being downtown and making a statement, that's a nice big overall picture. But there are other factors too, like when we decided we need to look to see where we could take this for the first move. There are infrastructure issues also. Where can we take this that we don't have to spend an arm and a leg to throw this event and take money away from our beneficiaries? Main Street Garden has event power. Main Street Garden is easily contained. There's all these infrastructure issues that play into it as well.
that wasn't always true. The best ever Razzle Dazzle was the third one, maybe. It was you can see where it was from our window here in the studio. The old Auto Pound, which was on Inwood Road between Maple and Harry Hines.
That's great.
And it had already moved to where it is now, out on Hampton Road in Oak Cliff, but it was mud. It was this abandoned, horrible venue. Best Razzle ever. You were the
I was the DJ that year.
tell us about it.
It was, one thing that I never got to experience with Razzle Dazzle, being a DJ for 25 years, I was always working that night. So I didn't get to experience Razzle Dazzle like everybody else did. I only got to experience two of the original Razzle Dazzles. One was in '82 in the Automobile Building at Fair Park because I was the DJ there, and the other one was the Auto Pound because I was the DJ there. David Laird and I were the DJs. He did the early set, I did the late set. We had the Uptown Girls. If you remember the Uptown Girls, I'm Losing You. Remember that old song, I'm Losing You?
Way over my head.
Well, there are people.
Yeah, but I got wrinkles older than you, so hush.
I'm Losing You. It was one of those classic
I'm
old
taking
hits.
notes. I'm going to look these up. Uptown Girls, I'm Losing You.
Uptown Girl, yeah. And in this old abandoned building that they literally brought power in to the building.
Right.
And they had all the
Brought in
vendors
generators.
and they had vendors out on the loading docks, and that was the vendors. The carnival was out there, and then the dance was in this big warehouse, and we literally drove the Uptown Girls in on a scissor lift. They came in on a scissor lift. We drove them, and they performed there in this warehouse. And then when they were over, we wheeled them out, and the party kept right on going. It was just phenomenal. It packed. You could not move in there, just packed.
Wow.
And you're right. About midway through the night, there had to be a few inches of beer and water on the floor, just a little
Because it was mud.
slush.
I mean, this was not the Auto Pound, which would be a pretty horrible place to hold something. This was the abandoned Auto Pound.
It was abandoned.
Wow.
The loading dock was abandoned.
So
The old building was abandoned.
this was
There
literally-
no electricity there.
Making lemonade out of lemons.
It was a blast.
Best party ever. Best party ever. But this year's is going to be better, I think. Or more for us older people.
Nah.
So, Razzle Dazzle has become a multi-day event. So the first day of it is going to be Wednesday before the big party, and that's going to be on Cedar Springs. There's going to be a wine walk for the merchants. Just a nice little intro to the weekend. There's going to be a pub crawl on Thursday night. But then Friday night, and this is where you came into Razzle, John, is Metro Ball. Tell us for a minute, and we only have a minute before we need to take a break. So just tell us what Metro Ball is, as opposed to
Razzle Dazzle.
Yeah.
Metro Ball is the AIDS fundraising event for the Greg Dolch Memorial AIDS Fund, and it's a mouthful to say, but we try to also call it GDMAF.org as the name that you hear for it. It is the primary funding source for an organization that provides emergency funding for people with HIV/AIDS in North Texas. We don't do case management. What we do and have been doing for 18 years is we provide those shots of infused cash into a situation where somebody needs a tire and needs so they can get to work, so they can keep their insurance. We have paid the co-pays for a 13-year-old girl at Parkland Hospital. We paid her co-pays for a year to make sure that she stayed consistent with her medication. We paid that in advance so that she would have that on file, and so we knew that despite the family's situation that her medications would stay stable, and we know that that's a healthy way to keep people healthy going forward.
And I know, and we need to take a break in a second, but I know other types of things that you've done is pay the electric bill for somebody for a month, just so that they can keep the electricity on, so that their medication isn't going to go bad in their apartment. Pay rent for somebody for a month, just because they were just in between things. Their Section 8 might have been about to kick in, but it didn't kick in yet, because we know how long those kinds of things take. And I have heard story after story after story where this little organization that isn't the big case manager and doesn't have this big building and doesn't have any of those has been the one that has kept people alive.
That's David, I get the emails and kind of the little case synopsis, and it's overwhelming to me at times, because what you just said, we keep people alive, we keep them out from underneath bridges, and to see a small group of friends start back 20-something years ago, trying to just make a difference and live on a legacy of Greg Dolchner and what he did for the community at the time, to see that grow to an organization that is so vital to our community now. It's heartwarming. It's fantastic.
And we're going to talk about who the beneficiaries are, everything else from Razzle Dazzle, but each and every one of those organizations relies on this organization to help take care of their clients. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 Knon FM. I'm Dave Taffet, here in the studio with Lerone Landis. Our guests are John Cooper-Lara and Jimmy Bartlett with Razzle Dazzle Dallas, which is 2 weeks from last night and tonight, two-night event. We'll be back with more Lambda Weekly right after this.
Knon thanks you for your pledge to our recent pledge drive. Now is the time to make your pledge count. Send your pledge to Knon's P.O. Box 710909, Dallas, Texas 75371. If you missed our pledge drive, you can still support community radio by pledging on the web at knon.org. Your pledge only counts if you pay it. That's Knon Box 710909, Dallas, Texas 75371. Be sure you put the name of the show you are supporting on the check, money order, or the envelope. Questions about Knon Pledge Drive, call 828-9500, extension 234.
When they're gone for good. This is Scott from KNON's Texas Blues Radio telling you don't miss out on some great blues. KNON's Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. It's a CD put together by real blues fans for real blues fans like you. Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 features great local blues from Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, JJ and the Detonators, the Chris Watson Band, the Two Tones, Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone with Charlie Love, Dave Millsap, Sirloin and the Ass Kicking Machine, Tutu Jones, Blues Boy Bo, Buddy Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, and Johnny Red and the Roosters. Get a copy now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Recordtown in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records. This is a Dallas Blues collector's item. A very limited amount of vinyl copies can be found at Forever Young Records, the sponsor of this great blues project. CD downloads are available at cdbaby.com. Whether you get it as a download, on vinyl, or on CD, all the proceeds will benefit KNON. For more info on Texas Blues Radio Volume 5, visit knon.org.
Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KFM. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis. Our guests are John Cooper-Lara and Jimmy Bartlett. Okay, Lerone, what was that music?
I'm Losing You.
It's I'm Losing You from the Uptown Girls.
Uptown Girls.
Who were the performers at
the actual
one of the
title
original.
is I Know I'm Losing You.
I Know I'm Losing You.
I know I'm losing you. That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to love that song. I just didn't know the name of the group. There we go.
So you've actually heard of it.
So I have heard of it.
See?
Yep.
They were the performers at one of the original Razzle Dazzles. Before we get back to Razzle, we're going to talk.
Big news this week.
Yeah, not yesterday, day before. Big historic vote. What do you think of it?
I'm mixed.
Exactly.
I mean, I think everybody is. We're talking about the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Boy Scouts vote to lift the ban for the children only, the boys only, by about a 60 to 40%, something like that.
Gay youths.
But I don't think this has pleased anyone on either side.
Okay, here's
completely.
where it's not going to work. And you know I'm always right, but it's not going to work. Okay, a kid works for his Eagle Scout. He earns it at 16, maybe 17, just before he's 18, and then he turns 18, and you out.
Out, exactly.
How does that work?
Exactly.
Well, technically speaking, if you have not applied by your 18th birthday, you're out.
No, I understand that, but let's say you earn your Eagle Scout when you're 17 and a half. And then a couple of months later, you're good enough to earn an Eagle Scout, but by the way, you're not good enough for this organization anymore, so get the hell out, and we don't need you anymore.
I'm hoping anyway, by next year, this compromise or whatever will be revisited again. It really doesn't make... This is bad for me to
bizarre.
say. It was almost better just to keep the whole ban in place.
Exactly. Just let the organization collapse. Let them become Westboro Baptist Church, the Ku Klux Klan, and the Boy Scouts, and just let them be the bigots that they want to be. Because a number of people have decided, well, we can no longer be affiliated with this group. Right. Good, goodbye, and good riddance. Let them have their own group. Who cares? Yeah, or join the Girl Scouts. Right?
Join the Girl Scouts.
I grew up in this. I mean, I did Cub Scouts, Webelos. My father was a Scoutmaster, and I'm torn, like you said, that what happens when you become an adult? Now you no longer can be a leader within the organization. I think I think people need to, when you look at the vote, that 61%. Think about who did that voting. That wasn't all adults. The councils. There are kids that made that decision. So what it tells us is that there's a generation behind us that fully gets it. Mm-hmm. And so it's a matter of time before that group is now adults and they have the ability to change the organization within.
Sure.
I think it's remarkable that we come to that kind of decision and that it happened. It was pressured by some people on the National Council, the board of directors, Ernst & Young, the gentleman CEO of that. He pushed for it.
And the CEO of AT&T right here in Dallas. He's the incoming president next year.
Right. And that, that's kind of impressive that, again, this is a big milestone. I think there is a real question what happens to leadership afterwards. But to your point, this may not marry up and be, fit into some of these people's own personal views, and they have other avenues. But to suggest that a small percentage, if you actually look at the numbers when they start talking about, well, the Baptists represent 200,000 of the hundreds of thousands of Boy Scouts in across the country, it's not that big of a number. No. This was inevitable that if an organization embraces these kinds of things, this is why Exxon is having a struggle. I remember when JCPenney's became more open and affirming to gay and lesbians in their organization. There was threats of, because they're Main Street, right? They're a Main Street company. There was threats, nobody's going to go there and shop, and there's going to be a huge protest. It didn't happen. It vaporized. So I think if with a little bit of time, this may vaporize, and I think what we'll see is that it's normalized. We're a society that's rapidly changing, and who's changing it is Boy Scouts.
Well, but what's interesting is when you talk to any of the Boy Scouts who are like 20 years old and they just recently earned their Eagles, within the last few years, and you say to them, did you feel pressure when you were a Boy Scout? He said, no, this was my, it was my relief. I didn't have to worry about what I did when I was at the Boy Scouts, because sex was not the discussion. We never talked about it at Boy Scouts. And it has nothing to do with Boy Scouts.
I think that needs to be pointed out that it still won't be.
And it still better not be. It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
It has nothing to do with it.
It's not, that's not what this is about. But like you said, some young boy who's gone through all the ranks, done everything great, earning his badges, and just by the mere acknowledgement that he is gay, boom, you're out. That's just wrong.
Yeah, but the thing is also what it's saying, and Zach Wall said this yesterday. It still says that my moms who were involved in scouting with me, they're no good, and that's not acceptable. Right, and it says to any gay parent, you can send your kids to scouts, and they're going to teach that you're not the equal parent that anybody else is.
And imagine if the Girl Scouts were like this. I couldn't send my daughter there.
Right.
Because me and Danny wouldn't be able to do anything.
To participate.
So, yeah.
Right.
Which I think that's interesting. Out of all this, I didn't know that the Girl Scouts had to wrestle with this issue 20 years ago. And this has not been... They did not destroy the Girl Scouts.
They didn't exactly wrestle with it, though. They kind of discussed the issue and found...
It was a non-issue.
It was a non-issue.
I mean,
right, it was a non-issue.
That was how they discussed it. It really just wasn't an issue.
And I proudly and always will continue to buy Girl Scout cookies.
You're going to be selling Girl Scout cookies.
I'm going to be selling Girl Scout cookies in a couple of years.
Anyway, we are talking to John Cooper-Lara and Jimmy Bartlett. Metro Ball is 2 weeks from last night. Razzle, Dazzle, Dazzle, Dallas. The main event is 2 weeks from tonight. The big guest performer at the Metro Ball is
Thelma Houston.
And
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now you knew Thelma.
Now, do you know Thelma Houston? Okay.
Thelma Houston.
Grammy Award winning Thelma Houston.
Don't leave me this way.
Don't leave me this way.
That song came out 1975.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a while ago.
Yeah.
But she's still out there, still performing. She's a really interesting person because in the 70s, she didn't just cash in on the gay bar. She actually went to the bars and performed. I mean, she was an ally back when we didn't have that term.
Yes.
Well, she's performed at HRC's national convention many times. She's been in the gay community and never walked away or distanced herself from the community, and that's very admirable. So we're real proud of bringing her in this year.
Yeah. It should be fun to meet her.
Yeah.
I hope she's accessible at the event. That just to be able to say to her, wow, you went to the bars when I started going to the bars, and thank you for doing that always. No, seriously. Okay. Stop it, Lerone. Would you please turn Leron's mic off? Well, she did. I mean, 75, that was the year I came out. That was the year of her hit. But that's when she started appearing at the bars, and she's been an ally for all that that period of time before it was popular to be an ally.
It was one of those songs that everybody knew the words to and would sing right along.
Well, and again, in my office, people didn't know who she was, so I pulled up the song, and they said, "Oh, okay, I know that song." I mean, they just didn't know the name Thelma Houston, particularly because
I think every
didn't
queen
associate
knows
it with
about that song.
Yeah.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So she's going to be appearing at Metro Ball, which is going to be at S4.
That's at S4. The Metro Ball event itself has a silent auction area, a nice silent auction. So if you need something for a gift for your significant other or yourself, certainly stop by and for that. And then she'll be performing. She takes the stage about 9:20, 9:30, somewhere in there. But the event starts at 7, runs through midnight, and you can get VIP tickets. We'll get you into the VIP room where you will have she was do her meet and greet there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Good. Would like to meet her. Okay, now with Metro Ball actually started how many years ago?
This is our 8th Metro Ball. These have started, now all of a sudden we're moving around. We started in the old TMC, which became Sue Ellen's. Then we moved, when they changed that over, we moved over to S4. And so some of our earlier, we had Linda Clifford, we've had, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think, Deborah Cox performed a couple years ago, and Taylor Dane was last year. She did a fantastic job. Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so let's dish. Who was a pain in the neck to work with?
No, they've all been fabulous. They're all fabulous. That's all I can tell you. You know what? We were talking about this earlier, actually, and I've been fortunate, or we've been fortunate that we haven't had the real divas. I mean, we have divas because of their star power and what they bring to the stage. But I look at like Deborah Cox.
You've got one here.
Yeah. Well, I figured that out already. Deborah Cox gets out of the car, behind S4, and I look down actually, when she showed up for the sound check. She had broke her toe the night before. She was up most of the night with her surgeon in New York City. She flew in with a broken toe, wrapped up, did her sound check, did her show, danced to 6-inch heels, and stomped it out. I mean, she was all over it.
Wow.
With a broken toe. Now she was in rehearsals for her show up in New York, and I was impressed by that. And she was gracious. She talked to people. Pre-Jekyll and Hyde, yeah. And so it was amazing. That was kind of inspiring. Linda Clifford was one of our first track acts to bring down, and she was just amazing, just friendly and engaged and loved the gay community, and had been doing, like Thelma, had been in the gay community for a long time. And she was just, I said...
Is she the one who came out on campus?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, is that we were joking around at sound check, and I said, us older people, we're getting old, they kind of expect us to be walking around in walkers. And I said, it would be funny if you went up there with a walker and then just kicked that thing away when you kicked into music. And she started laughing and stuff. And she goes, I'm going to do that. And I said, oh, no. She goes, oh, no, I'm going to do that. So when she showed up for the show, she had 2 canes. Now, I don't know where she got the 2 canes because she flew in from Chicago. But she showed up for the show, and we were backstage, and I was getting ready to, because I go up and announce her and introduce her. And she pulls out these 2 canes. I see her walking on stage, and I'm just cracking up. And she gets up there, and she waddles up there, and she's going really slow, and she's milking it for every ounce of it, and there's just dead silence in S4. I mean, there's not a peep. I think everybody thought, oh my God, Grandma's on stage. And her music track started, and when she hit the first note, bam, she threw those things down, and the crowd went absolutely wild. It was
what an intro.
It was an amazing intro.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of experiences we've had. So it's been very rewarding on that level.
I wonder if she's used that again.
Probably has, because hey, it worked. She got a great response.
Yeah.
Okay, so Razzle Dazzle itself, the main event, moving from Cedar Springs, it's going to go downtown this year again.
Main Street Garden.
Where it was a number of times. It used to be, though, in, like we were talking about the Auto Pound, the second Razzle was before there was a West End. There were all those crappy buildings.
Mm-hmm. Oh, warehouse.
And one of the second Razzle was in this old warehouse. I don't remember, because that would have been my first one, because that was just when I moved here. How did we get electricity into that place? Also generators?
I don't
Must have
know
been.
that.
Must have been generators or something,
must have
because
been.
these West End was abandoned. But there have been a couple of other times that Razzle has been downtown. This year, it's in a park that has been built for events.
Yeah, if you've not been to Main Street Garden, it's a great city. It's a full city block. It's boundaries are Commerce and Main Street, Harwood and St. Paul, and this old Statler Hilton is right on one side. You've got UT Dallas on the other side. You've got the old municipal building, and then you've also have the Mercantile building. And what's interesting, we kind of a ironic story is we posted out where we were going this year. The event actually on The Voice on their website. I saw one of the comments was, well, The Voice had done an article back about Harvey Milk. And the Continental building is kitty corner, but right there between the Statler and the Mercantile building, and he worked there while he was in Dallas.
Who didn't know, while Harvey was on his way to California, he stopped in Dallas and lived here. He lived at 21 Turtle Creek and worked downtown, but he worked in this building that overlooks this.
How long was he in Dallas? A couple of years?
No, something like 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Short time.
So the ironic part of that is I'm the general manager of 21 Turtle Creek.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So I've learned a lot of history of that building in the last couple of weeks. It's a 50th anniversary of that building, and so everything from Lehigh, there's some tie-ins. It's in the Warren Commission report for Lehigh Pre Oswald, and there's all sorts of connections to history to that building. Yeah.
Well, and Harvey lived there.
And Harvey lived there. So now I have something else to add to that conversation. That's great.
Harvey, who I always like to say, who is the most famous alumni from my school, which we always compare to Patti, who went to Baylor, who sued her for using gay and alumni association and Baylor in the same name. Anyway, so the party that's going to be downtown, what can we expect at the party?
It is from 7 p.m. to midnight, same time span as Metro Ball. It's structured very similar to the last 2 years. We're going to have 2 performance stages that are going to be filled with various performers and acts throughout the community. For instance, Turtle Creek Chorale will be performing, the Women's Chorus of Dallas, the Bright Band, and the girls from the Rose Room. They're going to be performing. It's just a whole variety of acts. The girls from Lakewood Theater that do the burlesque show, they're going to be there.
Oh, nice.
Patty the Play Safe is going to be our MC throughout the night. So it's just going to be a whole variety of DJs, a whole variety of performances, and not to mention all of our vendors from the community organizations, from all the from area merchants, artists. Lone Star Ride is going to be doing a Twister game. I mean, it's just all kind of fun little activities.
Good. And plus, there'll be food. There'll be
food. Yeah, food trucks. Rusty Taco is going to be out in the serving. We'll have adult beverages. Just
good. Yeah, I think going back to that, we're going to have a great opportunity for people to. And one of the things that we've always been part of our mission is to give people a platform. Whether you're an organization, you want to go raise money for your organization, it gives you a venue space to go do this in. And what our job is to bring a lot of people there. And so if we do that, and these people can stop by individual booths, whether it be Lone Star Ride or some of the other organizations in the community, we try to find ways, whether it be through the Midway area, which has games, you buy tickets and you participate. Well, those are fundraising mechanisms for those organizations, on top of the money that we will be distributing to our beneficiaries within the community as well.
Who are the beneficiaries?
Well, this year it's AIN, the AIDS Interfaith Network, the Resource Center of Dallas, AIDS Arms, Legacy Counseling Center, Legal Hospice, the Cedar Springs Merchants Association Beautification Project,
the Women's Chorus.
The Women's Chorus, and the Turtle Creek Chorale.
Okay. So that's the broad range of services that that people rely on in the AIDS community, and then a couple of just general gay organizations like the Chorale and the Women's Chorus.
Well, we tried to do is our primary AIDS benefit is the Friday night Metro Ball for the GDMAF. And then on the Saturday night event, even though some of these organizations are AIDS specific, what we're really trying to do is help them some of their programming, not necessarily client services, but more in their programming things, whether it be educational or supportive type programs. So that's what we want to continue to do, is build the community that way.
We need to take a break. We're talking to John Cooper-Lara and Jimmy Bartlett. They are the organizers, 2 of the organizers of Razzle, Dazzle, Dazzle. No, they are the organizers. They did the entire thing themselves.
Completely.
Nobody else gets any credit for it. We'll be back with more Lambda Weekly right after this.
If it's time to get rid of your old gas guzzler, the Knon Vehicle Donation Program can help. There is still a market for those old vehicles, and if you donate it, you are helping to support the quality programming here on KNON. Just call 877-KNON-AUTO or go online to knon.org. We'll take care of everything from pickup to tax paperwork. That's 877-KNON-AUTO.
And that is Thelma Houston, who's going to be appearing at the Metro Ball 2 weeks from last night at S4 on Cedar Springs. You can come see her in person.
Yep.
$100 VIP pass gets you in to actually meet her in person in the VIP lounge. $35 to get into Metro Ball?
There's at the door. There you can go online to gdmaf.org and buy tickets, or you can go to razzledazzledallas.com and buy tickets as well.
Yeah.
You have a
Facebook page?
We have a Facebook page and Twitter and everything.
Now, the main event is downtown at Main Street Garden. That's only $5 to get in.
That's correct.
The garden will be fenced. That's a lot of fencing.
A lot of fencing.
But I guess we have it from fencing off Lee Park. And we do a lot of fencing lately. The city requires it, though, for those kinds of events.
You have to have fencing.
But one other thing that's going to go on is, before we get to that, you're also still looking for volunteers, because I was kidding when I said you're doing it yourself. It's hundreds of people that put this on.
Of course.
This is an all-volunteer effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important to say, is that this is all volunteer, and it takes a lot of people to really get involved and try to help us make
Do you know,
it happen.
it's really only recently that I've been able to go to events and just say, let somebody else do it. I always felt much more comfortable volunteering and being involved in the event than just going and enjoying it.
Right.
But lots of people love to volunteer, and it'll be fun to volunteer. How do they do that?
Our beneficiaries are great partners with us in getting us a lot of volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of them, their volunteer corps are supporting us also. But we have a volunteer corps that you can go online to razzledazzledallas.org. There's a volunteer sign-up page. Just fill that out and sign up, and we would love for you to help us. We have great needs for volunteers. The entire thing is a volunteer corps, from greeting at the gate to manning the little coupon booth, just everything.
To selling raffle tickets. Tell us about the raffle.
Tickets. We have a great raffle this year. It's called the Red Bull Experience, and it's a trip for two to Vancouver Pride.
Yeah, if you've never, I lived up in the Northwest for a while. If you've not heard about this, it's probably one of the best-run gay pride events in the world. They do, in conjunction with, in that same time frame, they run the International Fireworks Show, and in that they invite 6 host other countries to come and present their fireworks display to all of Vancouver. So it's done out in this off barges in the middle of this sound, or this waterway right there off the Vancouver itself. This is BC, British Columbia. Mm-hmm. And so part of this Red Bull experience is you'll have backstage passes to all of the gay pride events, all of the big circuit party dance events. You will this year be able to sit on the boat, the actual barge. They will have you out in the middle of this water, and you will be underneath this fireworks display. The Red Bull this year is providing one of those shows, and they're also bringing in their stunt. You've seen their airplanes that do. Have you ever seen that, where they actually race these small planes? Well, one of those planes will be flying over this bay during this whole performance. So last year, the people that won that were really, really excited. It's an amazing experience, and that's our raffle.
Airfare, hotel, VIP experience. That's a fantastic trip.
When is
Raffle
that?
tickets are $5 a piece, 3 for $10. You can buy them at the event, and you do not have to be present when we draw to win.
And when is the is Vancouver Pride?
It's in August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, one of the other events that's going on, Razzle is just a party. No ulterior motive other than to raise lots of money.
Right.
And in the last 2 years, Razzle's raised a total of about...
If you combine all the full festival together, we get close to about $200,000.
That's wonderful.
That's great.
And we try to do that because it's important to get that back in our community.
Sure. But the whole ulterior motive, nothing other than have fun. However, just before, there's going to be a march. Starts at City Hall, will end at Razzle. But what is this march?
It's Get Equal Texas has organized the march, and it is just a rally march, a show of support for the equal marriage amendment, just a total encompassing march. They all themed around love. They have a nice little love logo with their 3 equal sign, which is the E, Get Equal Texas. They're going to start at City Hall. There'll be some speakers at City Hall. They will march down to Razzle, Dazzle, and they will end at Razzle when we open the gates. Be a couple more speeches there.
Do you know who the speakers are? I know one of them was a guest of ours a couple of months ago, was Steve Fish, rabbi from Congregation Bethel. But now Daniel Cates is going to speak. Also, he's been on the show a few times.
Yeah.
Oh, CD, yeah, how can you have a rally without CD screaming?
Right.
Well, this is what's interesting about this event, and kind of the added value or added benefit to this is, after we started planning this, is that we're getting close to the Supreme Court ruling, and what better month? June may become even more important to us as a community, depending on the outcome of the court. But we're 2 weeks before that decision, so there's some other partnerships we've created with HRC, who are providing stickers, the equality stickers, and so we decided what would be really, really important for us to do, and as a statement, to talk about our love and what our love means to us, and that our love is equal. And so our effort here is to talk about how our love is equal. My love is equal to your love is equal to their love, whether you're gay or you're straight or you're green or you're orange, our loves are equal in the world. And so we're going to celebrate that. So we're going to give everybody a chance at about 9:20 to be in the middle of Main Street Garden in the heart of Dallas and just express that. And the Dallas Voice will be helping us. We're going to be taking a photograph of that, and we're going to be blasting that out through all of our social media avenues to say Dallas says our love is equal, and we want the world to know that. And so we hope that people will come down and participate in that, because it's really important that we get that message out there, not as singular bodies, but as a mass. We need to say this in a mass approach, to say that we understand, and this is important to us. And I think that by having this event in downtown and being able to pull in not just the gay community, but the gay supportive community, people that understand us and love us and respect us and want our success and want our love to be valid in our relationships.
Maybe some Boy Scouts will be there.
And maybe some Boy Scouts, and I hope so. And I hope there will be.
I'm sure there will be.
No, I'm sure they will be, but they won't be in uniform. At least the adult leaders.
Do you
know, in my office, an office of 14 people, we have 4 Eagle Scouts in that office.
Really? Wow. This is important. I mean, I get that.
You know, we're having this little media event, like John said, around 9:20, but throughout the night, we're going to be doing an interactive social experience. And if you've never been to one of these, it is really fun and exciting. It is an event where we are going to incorporate social media, Twitter, tweets. So I don't want to go into it totally. I want you to come kind of experience it, but we're going to have the entire event will be a social media experience.
If you want to see your face up on a 9x12 LED screen, shouting out through tweet to all your friends and around the world, be at Main Street Garden.
And Lerone and I don't, because that's why we do radio.
Exactly. We definitely have faces for radio.
Right. Now, speaking of being for those things, and there's going to be that march. It's 2 weeks from tonight. Starts at
7 o'clock.
The march will start at 7.
I think they're starting at 6.
I think March is at 6
o'clock.
o'clock. Okay,
Razzle ends at 7.
Razzle starts at 7. In case you're against those things, one place you might want to be this week is the ExxonMobil annual shareholders meeting. I'm very excited. It's my favorite time of year because just to hear Mobil's arguments against these things is just wonderful. Although their shareholders meeting that I end up sitting through, I know more about drilling for oil than
you ever care to know.
Anybody who writes for the gay press could possibly want to know about. But then they vote, like they do every year and have since 1999. They'll be voting down, putting a statement into their EEOC statement that adds sexual orientation and gender identity into their EEO statement. So they'll be voting that down again. I spoke to the...
but every year it has gone up.
Not last year. Last year it actually went
dropped?
down. It dropped.
Wow.
It dropped last year. And that has to do with proxy voting. I could do a whole show and bore people to death about that. But here's the thing. I was talking to the New York State Comptroller's office. They're the ones, they own about $1.5 billion worth of Exxon stock. I was talking to them yesterday, and they said, well, we're expecting it not to pass, but here are some things that we're going to do. Once DOMA goes away, and the New York State Comptroller, he's a pit bull, but he's ours. He's out to get Exxon. He said what they're going to do is once DOMA goes away, and they're expecting it to the end of the month with the Supreme Court decision, then Exxon won't be able to hide behind federal law that allows them to, because I said to him, what DOMA says is that one state doesn't have to recognize another state's marriage. Yeah. Exxon thinks it's its own country, but it's not. So how are you letting them get away with this? He said, well, they're hiding behind federal law. So he said, once that goes away, then they'll have to recognize our state laws, and we're going to sue them under state law that they're violating equal protection, they're violating our non-discrimination laws, and they're not in compliance with recognizing all of our marriage certificates, because right now you have two married couples. They give benefits to one person and they don't give them to another person. It's the exact same marriage certificate. How are they deciding which ones to honor? Just because those two are two men, that one's two women, and that one's opposite sex. How are they deciding this? He's great. He's great. He is out to get him. He said there will be a change this year, and that was the one thing that he said. There will be a change at Exxon this year.
Right.
So we'll see. Do you know what I suggested to him?
Boy Scouts and Exxon.
Do you know what I said? Here's what we'd like you to do. Since Texas doesn't recognize New York marriage certificates, we'd like you to declare that you are no longer recognizing Texas marriage certificates at all. And he just laughed. He said, wow, that's an idea. So anyway, Exxon protest outside the Meyerson downtown, 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. It's always a lot of fun. It's mostly an environmental protest, actually, against them. Exxon hasn't done this in a few years. They used to hire their own protesters, counter-protesters. No, they did, carrying signs that said, wind energy kills birds, things like that. So, they were great. Anyway, Razzle, Dazzle, Dallas, our guests are John Cooper-Lara and Jimmy Bartlett, two of the organizers of Razzle. Metro Ball takes place at S4 on Friday, a week from next Friday, June 7th. And starts at 7 o'clock. Thelma Houston is the main speaker. We were talking a little bit about the beneficiaries. Let's just talk about who these people are who are actually going to benefit from this. We're talking about some major bucks here. What are some of the programs you said? I know who the beneficiaries are, but what are some of the programs? Because you said you like to support some of the programs.
And every program does something different, right?
Yeah.
Well, AIN has traditionally done their meals and their bus service, and that's an important component in our community. It's not necessarily giving direct HIV care, but it is giving us nutrition and substance. And these sometimes people rely on these meals. They may be some of the only meals that they have. Hot meals. So that's an important program. And then when you look at the Resource Center Dallas, they've been around for a long time, providing not only through Nelson Thibodeau, but through their other educational programs. And those are kind of things that, we have to be out in the community doing those educational programs. And unfortunately, the federal funding continues to be diminished. And so those channels and avenues for them to be able to fund them get more and more difficult. When you look at AIDS Arms, and obviously they've got their two clinics, but they also do educational and outreach and different types types of programs like that. So we're trying to get into that sidebar, the stuff that's to the edge of it that needs support, like education and
counseling from Legacy Counseling, the legal services from Legal Hospice.
Yeah, I always remember back with Legal Hospice when my partner and I were much younger, and I lost a partner in 1995. We needed a will, and so we reached out to Legal Hospice. We were young and poor, and they gave him a will, and that gave him a peace of mind that he knew that his mom would be taken care of. And so I have a lot of affinity with that group. And then you look at the Cedar Springs Merchant Associations, what they're doing to advocate for the Oak Lawn area with the city council and providing beautifications and road service improvements and the library and all those things. That's an important organization in our community. And then of course, what can you say? The Women's Chorus of Dallas and Turtle Creek Chorale have always been outstanding ambassadors to us as a community around the world through gala and other types of national events. So they all have programs that I think that benefit us, whether it be directly or indirectly. I think they matter in our community, and so it's important for us to continue to support them. We talked earlier about why an organization like GDMAF is around 18 years later, and I'd like to say that we wouldn't need to be around, but the facts are that the laws continue to change, and Congress continues to shift to a more red state conversation, and so Ryan White continues to be restricted. So now the funding that's been out there to support the people in our community with HIV/AIDS, whether they be African American, Latino, women, men, women, children, those funds continue to diminish. So organizations like GDMAF, who organically, as an all-volunteer organization, trying to just raise money to help people, become even more critical. Our needs are not getting less, they're getting more. And so the need for us to continue to raise more money every year gets stronger and stronger. And we as a board or as an organization continue to look at it. How do we do this? And the demands just that we're just overwhelmed with requests.
Right. And some of the other organizations get federal funding. The Greg Dolgener Fund gets none.
We take no federal funding, any grants. We want no restrictions on our funds. We are being able to be, what makes us unique is that a case manager can call us or can email through an electronic online application. We can literally have a check to them that afternoon so that we can get somebody's gas turned back on. We can get Ryan White will pay their rent, but they won't pay their down payments or their deposits for their apartments. We can pay that deposit. We can get these people into housing, or we can get a refrigerator because the refrigerator goes out. We can get that done in a day, whereas most organizations get hamstrung because through federal grants there are restrictions about how you apply that money. And so we want to remain that way, but we need everybody's help to continue to support us to be able to hit those goals.
All of the organizations started out as grassroots organizations, and just through the need just grew and grew and grew and became multi-million-dollar organizations. I'm not criticizing that at all, because without AIDS Interfaith Network, so many people wouldn't even be able to get to their doctor's appointments on a regular basis. And without the Resource Center or without AIDS Arms, people wouldn't have a doctor. It takes real structure to do that. But your group started out grassroots. It has remained grassroots, and it's just we're going to get it done. Tell us what you need, and let's see if we can help you.
That's what it gets down to, is that we want to continue to always be the supportive network. We don't want to become the organization, because that takes administrative duties. We are all volunteers. There's no administrative costs. We don't have any of those, so we're able to give almost 98% of all the money we raise directly back into the community.
Oh, that's great.
And if you go to Metro Ball, $35 to get in. But $35 is going to help people.
That's right.
That's right.
So, I'm getting one of these from our extensive crew here. We used to do just seat of our pants radio, and we're still just getting used to the tables and all of the if anybody watches us, because this will be podcast afterwards, you can see we have a set now.
We do have a set. I noticed it's pink.
It's pink this week. Yes, it changes month to month. But we have crew, and Clint is telling us to wrap it up. Thank you so much, both John Cooper-Lara and Jimmy Bartlett. Razzle Dazzle Dallas, 2 weeks from tonight. We'll see you there. We'll see you next week talking about gay homelessness. We have an author who's going to be on with us next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.